Good morning, everybody. It is such a great Friday morning. I hope you're enjoying your coffee, and I hope that you got a good night's sleep. I know that I did. I guess there is something about feeling a little calmer about what is going to happen in November. And that's how I'm feeling. And hey guys, I want to say hello to everybody in a moment. This is actually not a new microphone. It's just that I've been having computer trouble. So I have a new computer that I am looking at you through, which has many better jacks on it, so that it can accept the content feed in a separate jack than it accepts the charging. Much better situation. Yes. So hello, guys. So let's start. I want to bring to the stage our thumbnail today. Donald chickened out of another debate. I think that if you know me, you might recognize what is a giant, it's teeny tiny here, but it is a giant inflatable chicken. This chicken was the mascot for Tax March, which was in the style of the Women's March. Tax March was held all over the country, but the main march was in Washington, D.C. on April 15th, 2017, which happened to be a Saturday. And I was one of the people who helped organize it, and one of the two people who sort of spontaneously together thought this would be a really good idea. I have to give also my husband Michael credit for that, because we were sitting around the day after the Women's March. We had gone in Boston, and it was just so exhilarating. And I just thought, I was so angry that Donald was such a tax cheat and was kept promising he would share his tax returns. And was in that morning, I think Kellyanne Conway had been on television. I hadn't even seen the show. I'd seen it on Twitter that she said, oh, he's not going to do it. No one really needs him to. He got elected. Thank you, Susie. At any rate, as part of organizing, organizing this tax march, it was amazing. I worked with people in DC, and then there were people all over the country who had spontaneously come up with their own ideas. And so we worked together to coordinate, I guess the best you could call it is a lot of the branding around it. And I remember one of the conversations we had in DC, and in the room was Michael Linden. Hey, Michael, if you're watching, who is a tax policy guy. We were all talking this sort of, we kind of made ourselves into sort of a board of directors of this thing. I don't know if you'd call it that, or advisory board. And someone suggested, hey, Michael, why don't we use one of these giant inflatable chickens? Because there was one of the, and her name is Danielle, and I'm forgetting her name, out in California, and she's done many more things with this chicken. And at any rate, so she had ordered one of these from China, because it was also like Year of the Rooster in China. And I'm looking up her name. It's Danielle, Tax March. I'm getting her name wrong. At any rate, I will promise to tell you what it is, because I'm going to give her credit. She was one of the, these spontaneous organizers out west, and she had said, hey, here's a place that you can order these chickens. And so it was the first time I ever did a GoFundMe. I set up a GoFundMe so that we could pay for one of these giant chickens. And then the group, through other fundraising, was able to get even a bigger one. So what you're seeing here is a PNG. It's a photo of, actually, this particular photo comes from the day of Tax March, when on the Capitol lawn. This was back before the attacks in the Capitol, where you could just go to the Capitol lawn and protest peacefully and with a lot of fun. We put it up there. But the thing with Michael Linden, when we were having the conversation, like, should we actually get these chickens? I remember that he was like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, no, chickens, we should do it. Because the problem was, when you're having a big event around a single villain and he's not going to show up, what are you going to do? And so, of course, the chicken was our stand-in. Anyway, Donald Trump has chickened out of the debate. He is so afraid. He did so badly on Tuesday that he doesn't want to stick with a commitment that the RNC made to, am I standing behind the chicken, Mary? No, the two legs were not me. It was someone else who was setting it up. I was the one taking the photo. in this instance, but thanks. Anyway, so Donald Trump's Republican Party, because he's head of the party, had already agreed to 3 different debates. And they had the first one with Joe Biden. The debates were, supposed to be with the Democratic candidate, and it was Joe Biden. He had that debate. And then he was trying to wiggle out of the debate with Kamala Harris when she became the nominee, but I guess he got shamed into doing it. And then, of course, he got shamed on stage because he did so poorly. But instead of admitting that he's running from a challenge, he is acting as if, and it's something he said in the spin room, a place where a candidate should never be. He said, well, I won, and that's why I don't need another debate, right? He's claiming that if you do well, that you won't asked to go back into the arena. And that's why, she must have thought that she did so badly. That's why she's asking to debate him again. Okay, Donald. Yeah, no. So that is what he is doing. And we have Kristi Noem, one of his emotional support cougars. I can't take credit for that. I think I learned about that expression from Tim Miller, but it was someone else on Slate who used it. At any rate, she is one of his emotional support cougars. She is, of course, the governor of South Dakota. And she said she perfectly understands why it would be that Donald Trump wouldn't go out there because, of course, Harris isn't sharing her real policies. Okay, sure. Because someone who is a good debater couldn't cross-examine her on the debate stage, call her out for her lies. No, he is not capable of doing that. And speaking of Donald Trump's emotional support women, I think that you probably heard yesterday when I mentioned that there was some concern that Donald was traveling with Laura Loomer, who is that insanely racist, very young woman who was, on the airplane with him, who I mentioned was on Tim Pool's program, looking to basically, execute Donald Trump's political opponents. Because she's accusing them of treason, even though, of course, she doesn't know the definition of treason. She's just out for blood. And so this is the ideal person for Donald Trump to be getting advice from. And I think you may have also seen in some photos them being very, friendly with each other, up close and personal and things like that. And here's the deal. I feel like I need to address this here. I do not care if they're stooping. I really don't. That's between him and her and Melania, who I think probably doesn't care either. I think, to the extent that she had any kind of contractual obligation, and I'm not saying that Melania did, to engage in any kind of intimate relationships with him. I'm not saying she did. I'm sure she probably would be relieved that someone else is satisfying that need for him. But I have no idea what Laura Loomer and Donald Trump are doing. And again, I don't care. Being his advisor is the problem. I don't care anything else what they do physically, whether they're out playing golf or they're drinking Diet Cokes together. She is a menace, guys, and that is the point. Okay, so speaking of Donald Trump chickening out of the case, he had some good news yesterday, but I want to make clear it's not the greatest news for him that you would think. So breaking yesterday afternoon was the news that a judge in Georgia, a judge who is above the trial court level, ruled that several of the charges, a couple of the charges against Donald Trump and the other defendants in the major Georgia RICO case brought by Fulton County DA Fani Willis have been dismissed. And so it's not that big of a deal because actually, if that's the headline, that's a stupid headline. The real headline is the judge refused to throw out the RICO charges against Donald. That's why you're not hearing about it. I think you're also not hearing about it because I think it takes a while for the lawyers to digest the news and go on television or something. I don't know. Okay, so here's the deal. Our friend Joyce Vance she put this tweet out yesterday with this screenshot of Donald looking defiant. And she wrote, Judge McAfee, actually, this is the trial court judge, I'm sorry. Judge McAfee permitted the RICO charge to remain in the case, but he dismissed counts including filing false documents, ruling that those counts belong in federal, not state court. So To the extent that you think it's any kind of victory for Donald that there are fewer charges against him, but the charges against him are the big deal, that's the RICO charge, and something like the false documents case is going to possibly be thrown into a federal case, it's not a victory at all. The case is still continuing. The real question we have in that case is whether Fani Willis will be removed or not. But meanwhile, it wasn't going to move forward before the election anyhow, guys. Okay, so that's what's going on specifically in Donald's world. Now, there's more. There's more with Donald because he decided to get out there at a really tiny rally or speech, I guess you would call it. And, if you pan the crowds, I don't really care that much about crowd size. It's crowd enthusiasm that matters. And his crowds, as Kamala Harris noted, aren't very enthusiastic. They leave. And in this case, they didn't even fill the tiny, tiny space. I wouldn't even call it an arena. But at any rate, that doesn't matter to me. It matters to him. So he's in front of this crowd. And as you know, he was ridiculed for his hysterical parroting of this unsubstantiated and debunked internet meme, arguing quite dangerously, but also making him look like an idiot. And it was funny how he did that all at once. I don't know. Him claiming that Haitian immigrants, who, by the way, are here lawfully and hardworking. And again, let me say, everyone deserves dignity. Everyone is entitled to the protections of the U.S. Constitution, no matter how they arrive here. But the point I'm making is, for clarity, these are Haitian immigrants who've come here lawfully, who have settled in Springfield, Ohio. And no, they are not going out and taking your pets and eating them. And Donald looked like an idiot, and we laughed at him. And actually now there are threats against that community in Ohio. Now, I don't mean that people in Ohio are making the threats. I mean others who believe this nonsense. So you would think, I wouldn't think, but many people would think that Donald would back off this blood libel against these wonderful immigrants into America who are everything about what America is about. I don't need to quote Emma Lazarus to remind you that we are a nation of immigrants and that our strength is our diversity. But that's not how Donald looks at it. And he's also an idiot. So last night when he was at his teeny tiny event and just going off on the same stuff he does, he decided to throw geese into the mix. Let's listen.
Springfield, Ohio, that you've been reading about, 20,000 illegal Haitian immigrants have...
I have to pause it here because even though I told you that this was a lie, I just want to emphasize that this is a lie, and I want to join him on stage so I can make faces at him. Okay, here we go.
Endorsement, especially in terms of...
That was not what I wanted. I wanted Donald. Here we go.
A lot of reasons.
You guys, I am having all these tech difficulties. Okay, I have no one to blame but myself, but I swear to you, I had Donald talking about the geese a moment ago. Oh, here we go.
Springfield, Ohio, that you've been reading about, 20,000 illegal Haitian immigrants have descended upon the town of 58,000 people, destroying their entire way of life. This was a beautiful community, and now it's horrible what's happened. Enrollment on the state's Medicaid and food assistance programs have soared. Motor vehicle accidents have skyrocketed. Recording of 911 calls even show residents are reporting that the migrants are walking off with the town's geese.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
They're taking the geese. You know where the geese are? In the park, in the lake. And even walking off with their pets. My dog's been taken. My dog's been stolen. This can only happen.
All of that are lies. All of that is dangerous. All of that should be absolutely condemned. So let's go through it again. These are people who came to America lawfully. Isn't that exactly what MAGA is saying should happen? You hear people saying, my family came here legally, even though the laws were different at the time. And so these folks from Haiti came here lawfully. Again, you're still protected by the U.S. Constitution when you are an immigrant, and you are still a human being who is obviously worthy of respect regardless. And it's also true that he is lying. These folks did not come here illegally. They came here lawfully, number one. Number two, they are not walking off with geese from the park. They are not ruining the lifestyle of Springfield, Ohio. Quite the opposite. People in the community consider everyone part of their community. As for the car accidents, he's making an allusion to what we talked about yesterday, the tragic death of a young kid whose father is sick and tired of JD Vance invoking his name, of Donald Trump invoking his name and suggesting that it was an illegal immigrant from Haiti who killed him. No, it was a car accident. It was, a lawful Haitian immigrant. And what it is happening here is Donald is trying to find scapegoats. Obviously, he knows how to get the public's attention. And of course, this whole thing about eating cats and dogs, everyone's repeating it. But I will tell you, they are not, my friends, repeating it with joy. They are laughing at him. It is ridiculous. And again, it is dangerous. And so that's what he was doing at his rally. And the same old stuff, the same old scapegoating. So I don't really want to play him because honestly, it's not like I'm restraining myself. Like, if I wanted to play a clip, you guys, I'd play it. I'm just really bored of him, which brings me to something else, you guys. You know that I live in Michigan, and you may have heard that it's a battleground state. But I don't know if you live in a battleground state, you know what I'm about to say, because I didn't used to, right? I'm from there, but it's been a long time that I finally moved home. Well, when I lived in Massachusetts, I almost never saw political ads. The only time I would see political ads here were during, contested primaries and so on. I turn on the television if I do. I often watch stuff on my computer. But if I turn on MSNBC, for example, or CNN or what have you, or local news, I am not seeing ads for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. When I am in, that would be, and I moved here, I moved to Michigan the end of August, and I come back to Massachusetts sometimes. And on some weekends when I'm back here in Massachusetts, I don't see these ads. But when I am in Michigan here, you cannot turn on the television without seeing ad after ad after ad after ad. And I sort of feel like, oh my God, it's overwhelming. But I was talking to Michael, my beloved spouse, and he was saying it makes sense because, it is a waste of money. And in some degree, because I'm getting flooded with all the ads, I tune it out. But it's kind of like mutually assured destruction or something. If you do not, like, let's say Harris said this is a waste of time, I'm not going to put these ads up, then people would only see Donald's ads. So you kind of need this like constant, sniping at each other. And I find it rather unpleasant, but unfortunately it is necessary in a battleground state. But that brings me to this. You know how Kamala Harris the other night invited us? She invited us. I heard her. She invited us to come to a Trump rally, friends. I hope you know where this is leading. And Donald is having a rally, friends, this Tuesday in Flint, Michigan. And I thought to myself, Kamala invited you to the rally. I mean, not me specifically, but any of us. She said, I invite you to go, see what's going on, and maybe you'll leave early. So I did. I did actually register to go to the rally in Flint, Michigan on Tuesday night. I haven't told Michael this, and so if he's listening, he might be shocked and think I'm insane. But here's what I'm thinking. Let's see if they let me in. I have a Michigan address, obviously, and I registered, and I will bring my phone and a little mic, and I will, do some recording. Maybe I'll even do, I don't know, I could do some, live YouTube, but it's probably better to record and show you the next day. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll keep an eye on my watch and see how much I can stomach it. Someone says, take security, be safe. I will be safe, you guys. This is Michigan. I'll be fine. But I did get two. I did get 2 tickets. So I do have friends and family who I'll get someone to go with me. I think that makes a lot of sense. So that's my exciting thing for Tuesday night. Okay, so there's that. So Donald is not doing that well. And again, I'm going to get to Kamala Harris, I promise you, in a moment, because, I'm getting kind of tired of these Donald people. But I can't do that unless I play for you something that JD Vance said, which is, typical JD Vance. He thinks that because, and this is a mistake a lot of us can make, you think because you have at some point in your life worked hard, or you actually have a pretty good, functioning brain, that you don't have to do your homework. And you saw me do this the other day, just this morning, when I was like, I did not in advance Google to see or look in my, in my text to see who was actually the name of the person in San Diego who had the idea of having the giant blow up chicken that we should order them from China. And that's, my bad. And you can see that, and I'll admit it. But see, the thing with JD Vance is that he goes on national television and doesn't do his homework ahead of time. And he makes claims about Donald Trump and about the economy. And he's out of his league. Just getting a law degree from Yale, and then, going into the Senate or working for Peter Thiel does not make you an expert on everything, and it doesn't mean you don't have to do your homework. It's like, an athlete. Do you think Simone Biles, just because she's the greatest of all time athletes, doesn't practice? Right? Okay, so that's my lead into arrogance will get you nowhere. Let's play JD Vance. I remembered it. It's Danielle Morton is her name. Whew. Okay, let's do JD Vance. Here we go.
Town. If the path to prosperity was flooding your nation with low-wage immigrants, then Springfield, Ohio would be the most prosperous country and the most prosperous city in the world. America would be the most prosperous country in the world because Kamala Harris has...
Who's going to tell him? Who's going to actually fucking tell this guy that America is the most prosperous country in the world? Do these people hate America? I mean, what in the world is going on? Now, if you think that is bad and you think, well, it's bad that JD Vance doesn't know the first thing about our economy. And if he thinks it's doing badly, why would we let him and Donald Trump into office? And first of all, Kamala Harris is not president. She's flooding nothing. And in fact, the reality is she and Joe Biden, as did a group of bipartisan members of Congress who drafted an immigration bill to secure our borders, they don't want to flood things. It's Donald and JD who don't understand what is going on at all. Now, if you think JD Vance is a problem, I also got news for you. There is something that I think that you will be utterly shocked about. I've got to play this for you. So there's another candidate in the race, as you know, a third party candidate. And this is where I just have to talk to you about Jill Stein. So as you know, and I'm pulling this up right now as we're talking because I didn't pull this clip and it's really, really important for me to do this. So Jill Stein, as you know, has been leading the Green Party for a long time. And I am, in theory and to some degree in practice, in favor of the idea of third parties, right? But the problem is, hold on, I'm saving it now. And we will pull it up in a moment. So the problem, though, is in theory, the reason why I'm in favor of third-party candidates is, guys, the same way is because I think it brings in a diversity of perspectives in theory. But we don't live in a parliamentary system where coalitions are built. I mean, I know the Democratic Party managed to build a very broad coalition to come together around Kamala Harris. But for the most part, we're like Coke versus Pepsi. We are team blue versus team red. And the reality is we have had races that are extremely close because of the Electoral College for my entire adult lifetime is what I would say. And the reason why this is the way it works is Democrats have almost always won since I was a young adult, win the popular vote. But it comes down to a few swing states to decide the election because of how it's weighted in terms of how many representatives each state gets in the Electoral College voting process. And so when you start when you have a Green Party candidate, whether that be Ralph Nader or Jill Stein, they literally take votes away, usually from the Democratic candidate. And that results in, unfortunately, that a vote for Jill Stein or vote for Ralph Nader. Vote for Jill Stein will be, and it was in 2016. If you voted for Jill Stein and you didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, that is why Donald Trump is in office. Similarly, if you voted for Ralph Nader, in Florida, for example, all right, and instead of Al Gore, that is why we have the situation we have. That's why Al Gore didn't win. So that is how I feel. I know that there are a lot of objections people can have to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, the mainstream parties, but we have to think about our political system as being similar to parliaments. People think that, well, they won't listen to my issues, my policy issues, unless I actually can threaten that I won't vote or I'll vote for a third party. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's how it works. I think we need to think about better ways to come together in years that aren't elections and build real coalitions. That is a situation, because when you do that, and when you end up voting for someone like Jill Stein and Donald Trump gets into office, as he did in 2016, or if you vote for her now and he may win again, you're not actually moving your cause forward. You're making it harder next time around for anyone to get in power who has views closer to yours, right? So that is my thinking. Now, I therefore need to play for you. Now, remember, Jill Stein is running for president of the United States. And I think you understand, you probably know, how many electoral college votes are, right? 538. And you probably also know that as a subset of that, and I'm not going to tell you the number, a subset of that, because that number includes the members of the House, as well as the Senate, right, et cetera. It's not, there's some extra numbers in there. Now, this is what she was asked, and this is the person who's running for president for the, I'm pulling it up right now, for the Green Party. And anyone who says that they want to vote for her because they actually think she could do a good job, I want them to have to watch this. Because if you don't even know this, how the hell are you going to get any bill passed or do anything? She is a fucking joke. And she is a disgrace. And as AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, said, she has not built the party. She is just there to take away votes from the Democratic candidate. I'm not saying she's a Russian plant just because she was at a dinner party with Vladimir Putin, but I think she's the same kind of useful idiot as Tim Pool. And worse than that, she's an egomaniac and a selfish bitch. And I don't use that word lightly. I would call a man a bitch. She's dangerous. And this is how stupid she is. I need to play this for you. Sorry to call her stupid, but this is ridiculous. Talk about not being prepared or not even giving a shit. No respect at all for voters. Here we go. Oops, I can't share it unless I get rid of JD Vance. Let me take him off the stage. Okay, you only can have 10 videos lined up. Let's do it.
How many voting members in the United States House of Representatives, Republican, Democrat, and Independent? How many total?
How many total
Yes.
are there? What is it? 600 some?
No, it's 435.
Did you just fucking hear that? Excuse me. I'm just swearing because I'm outraged. Up until I saw this, I actually thought she was an intelligent, credible person. I just thought it was dangerous to vote for her. But I thought she was smart, that she had ideas, that she had plans, that she had goals, that she cared about the environment, all these things. She may care about the environment, but the fact that she doesn't know how many people are in the U.S. Congress tells me that you need to share this with anyone who supports her, because anyone who is standing by her is a stupid puppet. I'm sorry. And you can't call people that. Gosh, people don't respond well to that. I'm sorry. I'm going off on a rant. I think what I need to do is have my Kamala Harris face. Let me just play this one more time. Hold on.
How many voting members in the United States House of Representatives, Republican, Democrat, and Independent? How many total?
How many total
Yes.
are there? What is it? 600 some?
No, it's 435.
Okay, so this is on a podcast, Breakfast Club. This is what her response was. She doesn't know. If she doesn't know that there are 435 members in the House of Representatives, then she doesn't understand the Electoral College either. And she doesn't have any respect for voters. She is not a serious person. I think what I want to try to do, though, I mean, with you guys, I can let my real feelings out. I can't help it. But I think even here, I think that I need to maybe, use some of Kamala Harris's, sort of make faces and maybe not immediately turn to the F-bombs. You may like them, but I think I should be better than that. I think that when there is so much at stake, and when there's so much at stake in this election in America. Oh, Jason Smith says, be you, Jen. Okay, fuck that shit. I'm just going to swear. Okay, thanks, Jason. I'm who I am. I'm not running. Right. I am just me doing a podcast here for you. I am not running for president. And that's an important thing to remember. Okay, great. So that's what's going on in Trump world. Let's pivot now over to the beautiful, beautiful Kamala Harris world. Now, the first thing I want to share with you, of course, is the Taylor Swift effect. We talked about that a little bit, but I need you to hear the data on this. And as you know, after Kamala totally crushed Donald in the debate on Tuesday night, Taylor Swift came out. Good morning, Deb Cahalane, little Debbie. How you doing? Do not call me Jenny in the chat, Debbie. Anyhow, so after, Harris crushed Donald Trump on Tuesday night, Taylor Swift came out on her Instagram and supported Kamala and also told people how to go encourage them, check to see if you're registered and registered to vote, no matter who you vote for. So let's listen to what happened as a result of that.
Civic participation.
Yeah, so I think this is a question a lot of us had after we saw the endorsement. I think a lot of people expected it was coming, but the question of how much of an impact will she have beyond just the excitement, the likes on Instagram, will it translate into voter registration? So we can see some of the back end data in terms of the data that is coming and hitting off the voter file that we build. And what we saw was this really massive increase. We're calling it the Swift effect now because it's really unlike anything I've seen. We're seeing a 400 or 500% increase in people coming and trying to register to vote immediately following the debate and in that period after Taylor Swift posted on Instagram. And what's really remarkable about that is usually you'll see these increases and they kind of fade away. In this case, we've seen it continue through the last 2 days into today.
How so?
Well, I'm told, I have 2 teenage daughters, that she was on the Video Music Awards on MTV last night. Apparently, she put out another pitch for people to register to vote. And so we're seeing this continued spike of 4 or 5 times what you would regularly see. So we're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of 9,000 to 10,000 people per hour just hitting our system. That's not
Holy
indicative
shiitake.
of everything, but it's a lot of it.
And what does this mean for the election?
Well, a big part of this, the big question I think a lot of people ask is when you see new registrants, sure, they're registering to vote, will they vote? Well, we actually have statistics going back to 2020. We can see people who registered to vote this close to the election. Over 80% of those new registrants actually turned out in the election. So it's safe to say that not only are these voters who are registering are a big deal, but it's likely that they're going to come out on Election Day or before Election Day in the early voting.
Okay. That is, when you hear that, the Swift effect, there's no going back from that. Now, again, we've got to get out there. We've got to work. But if you're Donald, you understand crowds. And whether he's scared or just Machiavellian, think if you are him, what you would try to do to win now. He's going to try to have to gum up the voting process. He's going to have to try to find a way to sabotage mailing. He's going to have to, after he loses, he is going to have to claim that he actually won. But this time around, he can't threaten Mike Pence because, as you may have noticed, Kamala Harris is the vice president and she will be presiding over the vote counts. And so even if she gets, a little pressure from Donald to throw it to the states, that ain't going to happen. I think our bigger problem is going to be pressure on individual states. This is where you want to really try to sign up if you can to be a voting observer. But this is why Kamala needs to win overwhelmingly, not just by a whisker, not just by 50,000 votes across 3 states, which is how Joe Biden won. We need to have states turning, to blue early in the night. in November. And okay, so that's what's going on in terms of the Taylor Swift effect. Now I want to share with you one quick thing before I talk more about what's going on with Kamala. Sometimes things go around on the internet that aren't new, but they're still fabulous. And so I happened to see something going around that Pete Buttigieg said to Bret Baier on Fox News. And it was so good that I was like, yeah, wait, when did this happen? When did Mayor Pete say this? And it was in 2021. But that doesn't make it not good. So I want to share this with you and have you keep in mind that it's from 3 years ago. But we're going to do a little Pete appreciation video so you can see how good he is as a surrogate generally, but also how good he is facing up to Fox News idiocy.
Effort to address climate change that creates jobs at the same time as it helps us prepare for the future.
You know, Tesla is an American company making EVs. Tesla wasn't invited to the White House event, and the founder, Elon Musk, tweeted, yeah, seems odd that Tesla wasn't invited. Why was that? Is it because Tesla is not unionized?
So there are a lot of American firms that are doing remarkable work when it comes to electric vehicles. We were celebrating the other day the fact that we've brought together labor leadership and the leadership of many of these employers of UAW. We had the 3 biggest employers of UAW workers, United Auto Workers, at the White House. Now, what we're working on in our department and what we were announcing that day was tailpipe emission standards. To their credit, an all-electric company like Tesla doesn't even have tailpipes, and that's an exciting thing to see, too. There are startups.
Did you just see that? So Bret Baier was taking a talking point from somebody saying it's horrific, it's terrible, it's biased that Elon Musk and Tesla weren't invited to the White House. But the event was about reducing tailpipe emissions. Teslas don't have tailpipes. Okay, so this was pretty funny. But again, it is from 2021. And I feel like you need to know what has Mayor Pete done for us lately. So Mayor Pete also responded to JD Vance's idiocy. And yes, Steve McLeod, that was the perfect mic drop. Let's play some Pete talking about JD being confused about the strength of the American economy.
What's happening?
This is a strategy. And there's even more to it than demonizing immigrants, although that's obviously.
That is not the Pete clip I'm giving you. There is one. This is Pete talking about the demonization of immigrants and how this started with JD Vance. Let's go.
But just to see the impact that something like this could be having on people's lives, what do you make of what's happening?
This is a strategy. And there's even more to it than demonizing immigrants, although that's obviously part of what he's doing. This is a strategy to get us talking about the latest crazy thing that he did, whatever urban legend he amplifies. Right now, it's about people eating cats or geese or whatever, because he cannot afford for us to be talking about his record. He doesn't want us talking about the fact that we lost manufacturing jobs on his watch, even before COVID, which is why the United Auto Workers are against him. He doesn't want us talking about the fact that his main economic policy promise he actually kept was to cut taxes for the rich. He doesn't want us talking about how he demolished the right to choose in this country, that he's the reason that even IVF could be banned in many places in this country. The last thing he wants us to do is to talk about his record or his agenda. So what he wants us talking about is whatever crazy nonsense he can thrust into the center of the internet and the media conversation, which this week happens to be the stuff about eating cats or dogs or geese or whatever.
So you think it's just a distraction technique?
Yeah, I mean, but it's one that isn't harmless, right? It's affecting this community, and it contributes to this bigger picture of demonizing immigrants. But again, this is strategic. I don't give him credit for much, but whether it's this, whether it's blurting out a racist remark in a auditorium full of black journalists, as he did a few weeks ago, whether it's choosing 9/11 of all days to invite a 9/11 truther who said it was an inside job with him, right? All of these things are
that
to
would be
a purpose.
Laura
And the
Loomer.
purpose is to do something so outrageous that we have to talk about it, that journalists have to go in, if for no other reason than to run it down and debunk it when it's false. and to try to suck up all the oxygen into that so that we're not talking about his profoundly unpopular policy agenda, Project 2025, and all of the failures of his actual time in office.
So Pete is utterly brilliant and laid that out, and he's right. And by the way, I do want to say it's Secretary Pete, not Mayor Pete. I know that, but I love calling him Mayor Pete. So, oh well, Pete Buttigieg, Secretary, I just feel like Secretary of Transportation, but he's still my Mayor Pete. Now, I know that he is a policy wonk and wants to rise above the cats and dogs, but it's hard for me. And I like to laugh. I'm a little less buttoned up than Pete. Let's just face it. Okay. Now, before we get to Crazy Town, let's talk about what happened to Kamala Harris. So after she waited for Donald to finish up his little speech where he went off in his crazy stuff. And then she started her own rally in North Carolina in a major stadium. And it was off the chain. I'm going to show you what happened when she started it up. I hear the roar.
Yeah, we're doing this. Yes, we're doing this. We are doing this. Good evening. Oh, it's good to be back.
Okay. Now, I know Donald wants to tell you that they bussed people in and paid them to go to her rally. Yeah, no. You can't get in. I was talking to my older child, Emily, and when it was the day of the announcement, when they announced that Tim Walz was her, VP running mate in Philly, you couldn't get in. People want to get into these rallies. I mean, they would pay if they weren't free. So this idea that you have to find people to come show up like actors and applaud, it's utter nonsense, and you can't fake that applause. Now, she said a lot of great stuff, but right now I want to share just two clips from from Tim Walz, because he was at his own rally off in Michigan. So they had two rallies going on, which I think is incredible because they draw giant crowds. And I think there are two things that I want to share that he talked about. So let's play this first one. You gotta love the teacher in Tim.
To list the time we're here. There's a lot of reasons. My God, too many to list the time we're here. A lot of reasons this guy shouldn't get anywhere near the White House again. But we have a responsibility, and Ken, to tell people what the alternative is, because what he did not do, he did not say one thing what he would do to make life better for the American people. Not once. Remember, after he came down his golden escalator, he said this would be easy. This would be easy. I would have a health care plan on day one. That was 9 years ago.
Huh.
But look, it's progress, apparently. He has the concepts of a plan. I taught high school for 20 years. Every one of my kids, every one of my kids had a better excuse for not doing their work than that. They never told me they had a concept of the plan. Kamala Harris was able to,
This is the next one,
within a matter of a few seconds, use this guy's inflated ego and narcissism to bait him into melting down on a national stage in front of 60 million. You don't think Vladimir Putin could do that?
So we get this, right? This is back from what Hillary said. He can be baited by a tweet. He can be baited by Kamala Harris on a debate stage. We already know it's not what they can do. It's what they have already done. Now, again, I have one last thing before we get to Crazy Town, because this is a serious thing. And I'd like to bring to you some clips from TikTok because you don't always get to see them. And there's this thing on TikTok, you may not know this, it's called stitching, where you can find a video someone's put up on TikTok, and you can just take a clip of the beginning of it and then add on your commentary. It's like kind of the equivalent of a quote tweet on Twitter. And so I want to play this for you so you can see. And the context is, you might not be able to hear this first guy, but he's basically saying, yeah, I don't believe what Kamala Harris is saying in terms of people bleeding out in parking lots. So, and then we had this young mom talking about her situation. Okay, here we go.
Someone tracked down the women Kamala Harris says are bleeding out in parking.
Present. I'm right here. I had a 19-day miscarriage in Idaho because of the abortion regulations. I was turned away not from one ER, but 2 ERs. Technically 3, because I walked into one and they said they wouldn't help me, and I had to walk out. On day 8, I went to the 3rd official ER that I got checked into, and I never did receive a DNC. They gave me 1 dose of pain medicine in 19 days. I continued to...
In case you don't know, a DNC is a dilation and curette. It's what you do when someone is experiencing a miscarriage to both make them not hemorrhage and also to preserve their uterus, etc., so they could actually become pregnant again when they want to.
Suffer exponentially for the next 11 days. I blacked out in my hallway due to blood loss. I stopped eating, so my daughter stopped eating. So I had to eat with tears running down my face because it was actually painful to eat because I was in so much pain. Everything hurt. But my daughter needed to eat, so I was not about to make her not eat because I wasn't eating. I developed a heart condition called AFib. It means my heart doesn't work right anymore. And it fucks up. So if I get too excited, too hot, too much in pain, too traumatized, if somebody yells at me too much, my heart fucks up. And so I have to regulate for my heart to keep active. Otherwise, I could have a heart attack and die. I have to deal with these side effects for the rest of my life because of abortion laws. And I can't control other people's actions. I can only control what I can do. But yeah, women are bleeding out in parking lots. I actually have a pinned video of me saying they're gonna just let me fucking bleed out here, if you want to refer to that. But I'm present. Hi, my name's Carmen. You can Google Carmen Brewster and find the ABC article, the Insider article. Yeah.
Oh,
you can find a whole bunch. BuzzFeed. Whew. But yeah, we exist.
Okay. I'm sorry, guys, and that was really hard to watch, but this is the reality. This is what happened because of Trump's abortion bans. And for anyone who says, oh, this is what people want, this just went to the states. Look what went to the states. That went to the states. Government should not be telling women what to do with their bodies, and the last of which should be someone like Donald Trump. Anyhow, you know how I feel about this, and that's why I wanted to share that with you. But, we now need to get to Crazy Town. And I got a double header for Crazy Town, guys, because that was hard and we deserve it. So let's get this going. Oops, here we go. So, Donald Trump, you would think that he wouldn't be doubling down, right? And you know this. Donald Trump has been doubling down, and I want to remind you what he was saying. We played this earlier. But I want to add this to the stage so you remember.
You know where the geese are? In the park, in the lake. And even walking off with their pets. My dog's been taken. My dog's been stolen. This can only happen. These people are the worst. I'm telling you. Biden.
So, you know, I set that up earlier, and you know that he's still talking about the cats and dogs. And the deal is, the internet is undefeated, and so is TikTok. And you may say, you know, what are they doing over there on TikTok? You just saw one example of a stitch. Well, there's this other thing that happens over on TikTok. And what that is these memes. And so, you know, you've seen memes elsewhere on the internet, and usually they're just an image or a short little clip, soundless clip, or whatever, right? You've seen these. TikTok has a different kind of memeing where people get involved. They get involved in a dance. And usually you dance to something, you know, a clip of a real song, or someone takes something that someone says and puts a beat behind it and people dance to it, right? And so this is now my favorite meme. And I think we're just going to play ourselves out with this. And it is called Eat the Cat, Eat the Dog. Let's do it.
Eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats.
You can dance.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat.
Sorry to Mayor
P.
P.
They're eating the dogs.
I love this.
Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat.
Okay, guys, have a great day. I think I'll start it over and we'll just play you out. Bye.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat.